Hey everybody, this is Merrick coming at you not live with another figure review. And coincidentally, coincidentally, not really so much because I've mainly been purchasing a lot of Transformers lately, though I do have some other figure reviews planned unrelated to Transformers coming up. That the most recent two reviews, which are almost back to back in terms of like release structure, are Transformers, and both are ironically blue. Though this one is one that I sort of, I didn't expect to pick him up at all because one, I didn't really know he was re-released, and I didn't even know he was originally released. And on top of that, too, I don't really buy G1 stuff, which is almost a lie since most of the freaking Legacy United and like some of the other figures I have are G1 based for the most part. So I do collect G1, but I don't really collect G1. It's weird, and I don't want to get into like the sort of complications of collecting. Anyway, this is Devcon. I did not expect to purchase Devcon, let alone find Devcon, especially where I live. Now, what happened was, I've had this guy for a bit because I went up to Pennsylvania to visit Zig. And we stopped over at Target going for groceries, and what happened was, I just took a little ditty over by the toys section, and I found Devcon, and I was like, oh shit. Uh, then, after I came home from that trip, I went to a local Target. Actually, was it a couple of local Targets? I think it was a couple of local Targets, and they had a lot of Devcons in stock. So at least, we're getting them in stock if you're looking for this guy. But as I was saying, I don't normally pick up G1 figures. So why did I pick up Devcon, you ask? Well, one, I wanted a souvenir for my trip up. I wanted my souvenir from a trip up the States. So I saw him and I said, you know what, might as well pick him up because he's right in my grasp anyway. So here's Devcon. Devcon is a Autobot bounty hunter. So, which is something interesting because the only other bounty hunter style character that I know of in Transformers is Lockdown, and he has a Decepticon symbol if I'm not mistaken. He's not like one of the sort of like, he's not a rogue Cybertronian. I kind of feel like it's interesting when like you have somebody, again, which it gives me a bit of a character reminder to someone else, which I'll talk about as we get going through with this figure. Now, the sort of way I have him set up is interesting, only because thanks to the minimal parts forming involved with his transformation, it allows me to get away with doing stuff like this, or, it makes him look a little bit more streamlined, even when he has a bit of a backpack. So, I guess that's, like, one thing I will criticize this figure for, is that, like, he does have a bit of a weird hunching back. If you remember from my review of, Scattershot from last time, he had, like, a weird sort of standing stance. And, again, that's not really like the fig. It's just the age of when it was and how they did like the thing. He doesn't have a problem standing up straight. It's just that he's kind of back heavy due to the bit of backpack he has and the fact that I put his little extra engines on there. So it's not that he likes to fall over. It's that his sort of center of gravity is a little skewed because he's got big legs. They're hollow, so there's no weight. Most of the weight comes from this. And it's all a little, like, all over the place. But it's a decent representation of the character as far as I've seen from, like, the G1 fiction. And to be fair, it's not a brick. At least he can move around and, like, pose. And he has, like, nice, like, articulation points and little spots where you could put his weapon. Plus some other details that I'm going to get into in a sec. So I like him I like him as far as, thing is, and I know he was in like one episode of G1. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that we have an Autobot that's not explicitly working with the Autobots, but he's still, tangentially related and will help them if need be. Just need a bit of water for that one. So, what do I think of Devcon's, like, transformation? Well, I can't wait to talk about that, because it's both good, easy, fun, but a little messy. So, as most people, I've seen people complain about parts forming, but let's start this transformation. So I'm going to pull those off his back. I'll explain why I have those on his back in a sec. You'll see, too, when I transform him back from bot mode to ship mode. So here he is sort of standard. Here's how we do the transformation. First things first, let's get his arms out a little bit. Pop those open. Flip these around to the jet engines, or whatever, rocket engines, I guess that's a more appropriate name for them. And once those are done, we simply pop open his legs, flip his feet forward like that. I believe we don't turn those around. Yeah, right. So, simply put, once his legs are up, we don't have to do that yet. We can connect them right in here. And then we can sort of start folding those up. Now, next, pull this out, backpack, move his shoulders into place, get those in the hole, flip over that panel to cover his face, pull his legs up like that, pull his legs up like that, flip these around, make sure everything tabs in like that. Whoop, his upper torso. Easy fix. So you just kind of get his these arm holes here on those little pegs there. He's got little teeny tiny tiny wings on his sides there. And whoop. Here's the base of his form. Now where the parts forming comes in. How dare we have parts forming on my Transformers, as some people would say, as minimal as this is. So, if you have trouble trying to figure out where the little engines go on here, those little tabs just kind of like bop into that, I guess, fuel tank, and there you go. Oh, last but not least, pop his gun onto the chin, like so, and voila, you have yourself a nice little, well, starship. Now, I like having fun with the toys I pick up, and honestly, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about him, was because I couldn't help but feel I like this ship design. I don't care if it's just kind of him doing like a yoga pose. It's a Cybertronian vehicle. This looks cool for a spaceship. Like, who gives a shit about the underside? You're not supposed to look at it. You're just kind of like, you know. Now, the crazy part was, it says I take him off camera, the crazy part about this figure, and his spaceship mode, or whatever you like to call it, starship, starfighter, was I sort of had a thought. Also on camera, he looks much more blue. He's very light blue he's very light blue off camera, just to let you know, too, for color scale. I like the way the camera makes his red look. It still looks good off, but it looks better on camera, which is weird. I don't know. Hell, it makes my skin look lighter too. But the point is that when I was messing around with him, especially when I realized I was putting these on his back, and you'll see why I do that, and the weird comparison I drew, I couldn't help but think, because he's a bounty hunter, right? I kind of had him, like, when I was, like, kind of swoosh him around a little bit, like, messing around with some shit and messing around with him, because why the fuck not? It's a toy. I sort of had him going like this, and the thought that came to mind was Metroid Prime 2, when Samus is flying to planet Aether, like that little song, like the do-do-do-do-do-do-do, that sort of little, leitmotif that you hear throughout the Metroid series. And this is where things got interesting. I sort of just connecting like the dots here, and we'll see as I transform him back. I'm just going to do it off camera real quick. You kind of know, it's easy just to reverse the steps, but just, again, quick criticism as I do this, right? So here's what I mean by him being very, like, floopy with the transformation. and outside of like some weird plastic feeling in the legs, is that like as you do this, like this right here, his thighs feel weird. I don't know why. As you do this, it's like you kind of have to like flippity floop him around and have like pieces like flailing in order to get him back into like regular stand, which is kind of odd, but I don't know. That's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes when it comes to like these transforming toys. That's why you say like I don't really get upset with the. I really don't. Personally, that's why I don't get upset with like parts forming sometimes, because it's just like if you want the figure to look good, sometimes you have to like do the parts forming, and this is what I mean by I put these on the back. So if I kept them on the legs, that looks a little weird. No, I love like it just kind of reminds me a bit of like the cone heads and like their wings sort of dangle off the legs. Apparently there's a way you can make that a little more subtle or something, but I don't know. I just don't like that. It looks odd to me. So, just if you notice, I didn't switch the hands back. I'll get into that in a second. So what I tend to do was, I just, like I said, like I showed you before, I pop these on his back like that. And now he's got a little jetpack, because, you know, bounty hunter, Jango Fett, and all that. Jango Fett, Boba Fett, and all that. So, I didn't, now, as you notice, I didn't give him his gun back, nor did I switch his hands back to his hands, because I think that fucking Devcon here could be the Autobots version of Samus Aran, and here's why. He's got a very Mega Man style cannon buster arm thing that's like a Chozo arm cannon, at least in Samus's case. So you have different type, like, again, I like to make up little stuff for my own Transformers figures, because even if they have personalities, because why the heck not? So I made this weird connection, like, wait a minute, his arms can flip out. He's a bounty hunter, so he's got an arm cannon. I put these on his back. He's literally got, like, the space jump boosters from Prime on his back. Like, Devcon here is male robot Samus Aran. And he's a good guy. He's affiliated with, but doesn't directly work with other Autobots, just like Samus does. Even though, you know, more than likely because he probably served in, like, the Autobot military at some point. That's why he's got the symbol, all that type of shit. That's the type of things I think about sometimes. So, you know, and that sort of leads me into, like, his gun accessory, which looks pretty cool. It's painted silver, nice. And why would I have it? Why would I give him a gun and have his arm type of? Why would I give him a gun and have his arm be an arm cannon? Because it's cool to have both. Like you saw on the thumbnail, I had like his arm. I had like his thruster arm out, and I had like the cannon arm out. So the quote unquote cannon arm out, if you want to think of it like that. The thruster arm and like his gun, like regular thing. So you know you can play around. Like you can play around with this type of shit. So. It's a toy. It's modular in ways. So Devcon here is like my Samus Aran a little bit, just like, you know, arm cannon, gun arm. And the cool thing about this, again, because he's got like the sort of modularity. At one point, I even thought like, because he's a flyer, he doesn't have two. You can't really give him like a null ray kind of thing. Hell, his blaster could serve as like a mini fusion cannon if you wanted it to, because he's got like decent arm articulation. It can work. It can work. He's got like the bounty hunter sort of like, oh, I can have like different weapons on different parts of my body. It's not just a Samus thing. It's a Boba Fett thing. It's everybody else has like. It's a lot of other bounty hunters have that sort of like look to them and shit. So it's neat that you can mess around with this stuff and just have this, you know, going here and whatnot. Maybe if I ever get around to it personally, like maybe Devcon could be like a full Samus Aran kind of character. You know, maybe have like a battle mask. It kind of makes me wish he did have a battle mask, because I don't know, I tend to like characters with the battle mask, so that would be kind of cool. make we've had male characters be females in other Transformers universes, so that could work here too. You never know. Now, sort of speaking on this again, like, I picked this up too. I just thought because, the Samus Aran sort of, like, talk with, like, Devcon here, I just kind of wanted to show this off real quick. Not as, like, in relation to this figure, but I got, like, the recent re-release of, what's-his-face, Perceptor for this, and again, like I said, I don't really collect, G1, but I wanted to get some of the cassette bots because they look cool. So when I was messing around with Ratbat here, I was like, oh shit, this reminds me of something. And the way, you sort of flap the wings like, It reminded me of the fake item, like the fake item pickups in Metroid Fusion. So, little double Metroid thing that, the Transformers toys have brought me. So, my overall thoughts, but, that's just minor thought. I'm not even going to try to put them on there. I have him sitting on Soundwave's shoulder because I don't have a laser beak or buzzsaw. But overall thoughts on Devcon. Good figure, somewhat flawed. If I really want to be generous, he's great. He's somewhat flawed because, like I said, I feel like his legs feel weird. His transformation is simple and fun, but in some cases you gotta leave him all floopy and out and whatnot. But what I really like him for is his modularity and how much my weird connection brain made me compare him and think about Samus Aran as I was fumbling around transforming him and whatnot. So if you like bounty hunters, get him. If you like G1, get him. If you just want to have a fun little transformer that's an easy conversion from a robot to a cool spaceship, go for him. It's nice enough that we got a re-release of a rare figure, because stuff like Cosmo was crazy, and I love Cosmo because he's got the battle mask. He's a little cute robot. So it's nice to see that we were able to get stuff like that. It's nice to see that another short-packed bot got a re-release. So if you're a completionist, go for him too if you wanted to. Just make sure there's enough out there for everybody to get, but based off of what I've seen, I don't think he's being scalped, which is good. So who fucking knows? So as I usually do, I don't talk about figures unless I really like them or unless I have a really weird, interesting take on them. So here he is, Devcon. I love him. Or her, if we get another one that's like Samus, but who knows. Either way. Anyway, guys, thank you guys for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed. Remember, as always, be yourselves, and remember, peace. See you later.